Hello, hello, hello. Good evening. Welcome to day 11 of the Woman Called You to Over January. It's been 10 days of, you know, believing we can do over as we, just prepare for a new lease of life, if I may put it that way, in the year 2022. And like I always like to remind us, the Woman Calls You is just simply a platform where we inspire change through personal growth. I can't overflog the issue. I always like to remind us that except you grow, you can't give what you don't have. So today is day 11 of our 31 days to declutter and deconstruct the mind to gain clarity. It's been quite an interesting 10 days. So hopefully, as we move on, I'm sure someone has been able to glean something from the past couple of days. It's been a week and a couple of days, and I'm sure somebody has been able to glean something. So today we're saying identify the essential to declutter your mind. Identify the essential to declutter your mind. And we all know what, when you refer to something as essential, we all know what it means, right? Remember, for those of us who are 70 babies, I think in the early 80s, prior to our current president's first incursion into power, you know, we had what they called essential commodity. So essential commodities back then were those things we needed, those things that were considered basic necessities in every home. And those were the things we refer to as the essentials, the essential commodity. So today, a woman, a gorgeous woman, will be identifying the essential things in her life. And people forget his name now. His name is Leo something. He came up with the principle of identify the essential, and then get rid of the rest. So, as a technique for decluttering the mind, we're going to be identifying the essential things in our lives. It's an important aspect of decluttering. So, the first thing you're going to do today is I encourage you identify what is the most important thing in your life. So many people have a lot of things they consider to be important, but since it's a deliberate and intentional process where you're setting out to declutter your mind so you can live life as God intended it. Remember, I said I only speak for my constituency, although the Woman Called You is not meant for only, you know, Christians. A woman is a woman, you know. So, I would say live the life that the higher power you believe in, has ordained for you. And in my case, it's Jehovah's like a bit. So the first step I would want a woman to do is identify what is most important in your life. What's the most important thing for you to focus on right now? You can choose to maybe say one, two, three, but for this exercise, when you're saying identify the essential, I would just advise that you just imagine three things. What are the three things that are most important to your life? When they say if there's a burning building right now, if you're in a burning building and you have the opportunity to take three things away, what will those things be? What will those things be? What is main thing? So what are the three things? The three things might not necessarily be, tangible things. They might be actions. You can choose that. Number one, the most important thing in your life is your sanity. I remember we're talking about mental clarity. So you can say number one is your sanity. You can say number two is your joy. You can say number three is your peace. Because remember, we're not physically decluttering. We're not doing a physical declutter. We're doing a mental, because we said we will be decluttering and deconstructing the mind in order to gain clarity. So, what are those three things? Make a short list of the three things. Like I said, you might be watching now, you might watch much more later, you know. But what are the three things on that list as a woman? I know my three things. Do you know your three things? Then the next thing you need to do, remember I said identifying the essential. The next thing you need to do, my dear sister, begin to consider why you are doing each of those things. Like if I say number one is my sanity, number two, my joy, number three, my peace, I would need to know why my sanity is so important. I will need to know why my peace is important. Or second, I said my joy. Yeah, my second one is say, let's say joy. This is just me just giving a wide example, but I don't know what yours will be. So I now say, so why is my joy so important to me? Why is my peace so important to me? See, I don't want you to elaborate when you're putting down those points. Just a few bullets reasons. Remember, I said three things, three of the most important things to you. Then I said to consider why those things are important. Why are you doing those things? In fact, at this point, I would need you to be very, very mindful, you know. So you will be mindful of responding. Why are you doing those things? Nobody is there with you. You're answering this. I'm just like into your space this evening because, like I said, as we move on, it will be much more intrusive. And today is one of such intrusive sessions. That's why I actually picked this time of the day so you can just relax and just listen and maybe in your subconscious revisit it later. So now, why do you do those things? Why do you think those things are important? To some people, it might not be sanity, it might not be joy, it might be just maybe to be a better person is important to me. To do this, just whatever three things are important to you. And you know why you need to be mindful when you respond to these questions? Because I tell you, most times, we just carry unnecessary burdens that we shouldn't. Is it your husband that is the most important factor? Write it. Why do you consider he's important? Of course, I know your husband is important. I know your children are important. But you need to be able to answer those questions. Why your own husband may be important might not be the same reason another person's husband is important. So I'm sure you get my drift by now. If the most important thing to you is for people to like you, write why it is important for you to think that people should like you. There should always be a why in anything you have identified as essential in your life. A gathering you belong to is important to you. List it out. How mindful are you of everything that happens there? Why do you like this place? You know, we need to begin to answer these questions in our lives for us to have mental clarity. Sometimes so many of us just go with the flow. We become like, I call it the Ashwebi generation. You just stand up, you wear the same uniform with people, you go. But when you sit down, you begin to ask yourself, do I truly, do I truly, can somebody, it's like I'm frozen kind of. Like I said, we've become the Ashwebi generation. The question you need to ask yourself is, do I truly identify with the core values of these people? Or have I outgrown what the core values are? See, core values are not what they write, people write though. Core values are the deep things, I call it the subterranean, under the soil, subsoil. When you begin to feel agitated, if you don't deal with it, your mental health is threatened. So write it today. I want somebody to leave. I mean, it's going to be a very short encounter tonight, but I want you to leave thinking differently, understanding that stepping away does not make you a bad person, because today you are able to identify whether or not that thing is or was essential to your life, was essential to your mental, state, to your peace of mind. So, because like I said earlier, so many of us unnecessary worries for things that are not our responsibility. We're so distracted by all the things we should be doing and could be doing, and we almost completely forget to ask ourselves, do I even want to be doing this thing? Do I even want to be in this place? Do I even want to be with these people? We just think mental fatigue or whatever just comes out of the blues. No, even in your interaction with people. So today, a woman is going to identify the essentials. Sit back, take a breath, take a deep breath. Oyinbos will say, take a breather. Slow down, smell the coffee. Remember, I say we're identifying the essentials in order to declutter our mind. Write down 3 things that are essential to your life right now. Whether it be association, whether it be a subliminal thing, whether it be a thought, write it down. Then begin to explain to yourself why you are doing those things. Consider why you are doing them. Consider why you are doing them. Are you so distracted with all the activity around you, around that company, around what it is you do, that you think you should be doing something? You should be doing, as every time we just go like a headless chicken. You're doing. And you haven't stopped for a moment to ask yourself. Remember, you're looking at your list. On every item out of those 3 things you have written, remember I said the first thing is for you to ask yourself, is this thing worth my mental health? Is it worth my peace of mind? Do I even want to be doing this thing? Some of you may answer that question. By the time you're watching this, you will answer that question and realize that, look, you know that song they say, don't walk away, boy. You realize that you should have walked away since. The next thing you should ask yourself about the 3 things you wrote down, is it vital? Is it important? Is it important? Number 3, does it matter to me? Does it matter to the people I love? Honestly, you see the second question, does it matter to me? Does it matter to the people I love? If your answer is no, run. Just cross that thing off your list. Cross that thing off your list. When you cross that thing off your list, trust me, you are on the way to becoming less distracted. Because one thing distraction decreases your mental alertness. Distraction removes from that sense of well-being, mental well-being. It removes from it. Because your mind, remember that song, kitty, 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 kitty. I forget how they sing it now. Your mind will be everywhere but where it ought to be. So let's assume now that out of that 3, after I've spoken like this, you've been able to eliminate one. That thing you've eliminated, say to yourself, as I would say to myself, Nene, this thing is not essential. Why so many of us women have some kind of mental breakdown or mental fatigue is because we think everything is important. You associate with people, you think they're important to you, and sometimes when you see that, you begin to understand that I'm not as important as I should be to them. It becomes a non-essential. You see, if we start taking a practical approach to everything, including relationships, we will save ourselves a lot of mental fatigue. And that's the honest truth. Because when we're talking about identifying the essentials, simply saying, in order for me to have peace of mind, in order for my mind to be decluttered, that I can see clearly now that the rain is gone. We all know that song. I think it was Jimmy Cliff or something like that. I need to come to a deep understanding of the things that are necessary and important to you. Today, a woman should make up her mind. The things that are necessary, the things that are important, are the things I will consider essential. They're the things I will deal with. If I ask you now, wherever you are watching me from, whether you watch me tomorrow, the day after, or years down the line, you wrote 3 things on your list. You probably have erased one because you consider it non-essential. The next question is this. Is there anything on your list? Is there anything on your list that if you take out, you can still live without? That's the question. Is there anything on your list? Remember, we've removed the one that is a non-essential because that one is very important to remove it. We're not even considering it. We're not giving it the time of day. We're not even giving it a second look. But the question now is there that you think shouldn't be there? Take time and ponder on it. You're not going to do anything about it this night, but you ponder on it. And as you're pondering on it, think about this. Is there anything that is not on your list that now you just think of and you realize that, come on, that thing is important to me. But because you never thought it was important enough, it didn't get on that list. That person you've not spoken to in a long while, who every time your mind keeps flashing back to that person. Remember, I talked about self-care, making that call to get that thing off your mind. It might be too late this night, wherever you are. You might be watching this during the daytime. Pick up your phone and call that person. You see what we think. Remember when I started this thing, when I started talking about self-care and the cluttering of the mind, I said, no man is an island. So many of us suffer mental strain. Our minds are cluttered and all of that because we have become so dissociated from human company. All you need is to understand and identify the essentials in the different aspects and parts of your life. Who are the essential human beings you deal with? What are the essential pastimes in your life? What are your essential hobbies? Who are your essential to-go people? For a woman to have mental clarity, for a woman to have that sense of wellness, for a woman to have that sense of, mindfulness, being present. Because, like I said, one of the things that are proof or evident that your mind is cluttered is when it seems you're not present. You can be here physically, but you are not here mentally. You are not here emotionally. One of the things that will help you in this season is to begin to identify your essentials. Identify your essentials. And as you identify your essentials, do well to identify your non-essentials. I'm not saying get rid of them permanently, but you see, it is not important whether it is intangible as an it, whether it's tangible as a human being, a day, a them, a what, it is not important. I remember someone used to tell me back then, no one has ever died because they chose not to have someone or something or an idea or a concept or a principle in their lives. So today, day 11, it's simple. Identify the essentials in your life. What is important to you might not be important to the next person. But one thing I know is that whatever we choose as being important must be something that will serve us well. And not just serve us well, because remember I said everything about self-care, none of it is indulgent or selfish. One thing I want us to know that the process of decluttering itself, whether it's your mind, whether it's your space, whether it's your environment, is because you care about yourself. And even as you identify the essentials in your life and you choose to get rid of the non-essentials, one thing you should always do, and I'm reminding you of that today, be kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself. And that's it. Just choose to be kind to yourself. And today, I don't know why I'm saying this, but I believe that slowly but surely, one day we'll be able to look at, times like this and just say, I chose to do right to myself by deciding to identify the essentials in my life and putting the rest in the trash can. So I'll see you tomorrow. Like I said, today was going to be a very short one, and I'm glad it was. So until tomorrow, day 12, good night. God bless you.